Hi everyone! So today, as you can see from the title, I've got a video to do with career advice and how to score your dream job. I was reading some of your comments from my previous video of how I boosted my confidence, and I think you guys enjoyed that kind of theme, and I thought, what else could I do that might be helpful and useful to some of you guys that might be looking for a job, your dream job. Maybe you're starting out your career, or maybe you're looking to change jobs or change industries. So I'm hoping that this advice will be helpful to you guys. Also, in our current situation, the current climate, many people are being furloughed or maybe being laid off or being made redundant. So it is one of those times where potentially, you know, people will be looking for new jobs. So hopefully this is going to be fun and also helpful. But we've got a little twist. So the little twist is, rather than me just coming up with all the advice I think and the experience that I've got over the years, I decided to ask my lovely friends, because I have some amazing, inspiring friends who do amazing, great jobs, and they are from all sorts of industries and at all different levels. So I thought, why not ask my friends for their advice of how they think you could score your dream job. I texted lots of my lovely friends, and they are just so generous with their time and kind and caring, and they responded with their top tips, and I'm going to go through my phone and share them with you. And at the end, I'll add a few tips that I think that maybe I can add as well that I might not have covered in their tips. Otherwise, let's get on with it. So I'm going to start with one of my friends who used to be actually a colleague of mine. Her name is Cress, and she now works in her dream job. She went from a media sales role into a food company. She's a super foodie, loves it, and is very passionate about it. And she managed to get herself into a food related job, and this is what she said. I spent a lot of time making sure my LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, blog, etc. were fully up to date with lots of foodie content, recipes, etc. I also invested time in working for free, getting some experience, studying food photography. All of this meant companies, when they looked me up, they could see, although I had actual no work history in food, that I had a passion for it. That is so important, like showing your passion. Even if she didn't have that, you know, that on her CV, she didn't have like working in any food, but just through, you know, looking her up online, you could see all of her passion was there. I think it's also very important to show how you can transfer previous skills to a new industry. So she had experience in sales, so she obviously, you know, proved to her new company that she could transfer those skills, and she had those transferable skills. I was able to pitch to companies and show how I could transfer my advertising, marketing and digital skills to help the new food company build this part of their business. If you're passionate and clued up on a certain industry or topic, then no dream is too big. Wow, that is very key. No dream is too big. No company will say no to someone who is dedicated and passionate enough. What amazing advice. No company, I'm going to say it again, will say no to someone who is dedicated and passionate enough. Remember that, guys. That is amazing advice. Thank you, Cress. So my next piece of advice is from a friend of mine, Amit, who is a head of marketing in a company, in a tech company. He's a super smart guy. His tip would be, look for roles in companies that interest and inspire you first. Research them, read up on the people that work there. Working with great people that you can learn from can only make any job a dream. Totally agree. So let's just say that bit again. With working with great people that you can learn from can make any job a dream. So that just shows sometimes you might even go into a job not thinking it's your dream job. You might be surrounded by people that you learn from and that inspire you, and it can become your dream job. So thanks, Amit, that's great advice. The next tip comes from my friend Francis, who is actually a bodybuilder friend of mine from the gym, and he works in recruitment. So he's looking at CVs and resumes all day. He recruits, he's actually self-employed, and he recruits IT people globally. So he's got some really, really good experience in that area. His advice would be, go and look at other people's profiles and see how they got into that field. If you can speak to someone even better, then you can gain experience needed to apply for the job. Great, that's great advice. I would also go thoroughly research that job, and sometimes what you see as your dream job from the outside is actually quite different when you are doing it. So that is actually really interesting. It's so true, isn't it? Sometimes you'll read a job description and you'll be like, that is my dream job, I love it. And then you get into the job and you're like, this is not what I actually signed up for. So actually maybe, you know, researching a little bit more sometimes, and not just going by the job description, researching the company and understanding that role a little bit more can, you know, make sure that it is your dream job and you've not just walked into your nightmare job. This is a good piece of advice. I'm not going to mention this person's name, but I would say that it's not a race to find your dream job. Someone once told me that you spend your 20s figuring out what you want and your 30s actually doing it. I think that might be true, because I did spend most of my 20s kind of figuring it out, finding my feet, and I worked purely in kind of events in my 20s, and I thought I wanted to just do events and be an events manager. But as I got into my 30s, my role, I got a lot more exposure to actual marketing, and that's what I actually love. Like, I love organizing events, but I really enjoy the marketing and strategy side of it. So yeah, that's actually good advice. Maybe that's what really happens. That really stuck with me. I realized that it was okay not to be doing a dream job, and also not knowing what your dream job was. Sometimes you may just land yourself a job without even realizing it's your dream job. That is very, very true. I'm sure that's happened to many of you. So the next tip is from my friend Gabby, and I think she puts it very well. Whatever makes you happy, make it your job. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's plain and simple. If you love it, you make it your job. However, sometimes what can happen is you love something and you make it your job, you can end up hating it. But let's not be negative. I totally agree with that. Like, I love YouTube, maybe I'll make it my job. But if I had to do this every single day and be alone and not get to go into an office and see my friends, would I love it as much? I'm not sure. Sometimes you need a bit of balance. A hobby, when you turn it into a job, a hobby or a passion, when you turn it into a job, can sometimes have a little bit of an opposite effect, where you don't love it as much anymore just because you're forced to do it. Whereas when it's a hobby or a passion, you can do it when and whenever you like, whenever you feel like doing it. But when it becomes a job, you're forced to do it if you're trying to earn money from it. It's just something to think about. However, great advice, Gabby. The next one is from my friend David. He's a managing director of a company, so I'm very interested to see what he says. And he starts off by saying your CV and your LinkedIn are your showcase. They're what people look at, so make sure you take care of what you post and what you stand for, because they are what are representing you. I always look at the LinkedIn profile as a qualifier. Secondly, once you get the interview, there are two things. One, do your research. We've talked about that. Know the company you're interviewing for. Look at their website, their LinkedIn, their posts, and therefore from that be able to reference that. Help it to formulate the questions you might ask. Very important. Ask questions in interviews. And finally, do your research right. You'll be able to demonstrate that you are the right person for the job. That might be through experience, through references, but it also could be through passion and knowledge. Great, he wrote that while he's drinking some rum cocktails. Great advice. All about interview, research the company, make sure your LinkedIn is up to date, and be passionate and knowledgeable. In an interview, you want to ask questions, you want to be proactive. You don't just want to have it like an answering question. You want to, you don't want them just to ask you questions. You want to ask questions back. It shows interest, it shows that you're passionate and you're keen to get the job. This one is a little bit different. This is from my friend Alex. Rather than giving a more practical kind of top tip, she put, my top tip for looking for your dream job is to manifest it via visualization. Be specific with what you want and what you envision, and write it all down. Visualize it every single day. How will you travel there? What will you wear? What will the people be like that you interact with? What skills do you want to gain developing the role? Visualize the amount of money going into your bank account each month. I like that. Visualize the amount of money going into your bank account. So it's to do with visualization and manifestation. Make it happen. Make it become a reality. What you want, you think it, you believe it, you write it down, you think about all aspects of it, and it becomes true. You make your visualizations become a reality. Thanks, Alex. Great advice. So the next top tip is from a family friend of mine, Kishin, who actually recently scored his dream job, and he moved from the Midlands to London. And his top tip is to, in the interview, to crack a smile or laugh. Once that happens, you're halfway to securing the job. By using a bit of laughter, you can diffuse any nerves or tension. What a lovely, yeah, that is, I totally agree with you. I interview people on, now and again for roles, and I definitely think that is really nice. When you see a little bit of their personality, that's really nice. Have a positive attitude, and if you're in a positive mood and have good energy, this can make the interview a lot more enjoyable. Definitely. What a simple, basic thing, but totally true. The job might be your dream job, but you need to find out if it's the right company and fit for you. The job might be spot on for what you're looking for, but does the company fit what you want and your personality? Try to ask questions about the office culture and try to gauge what it is like. Very true. The company might just be completely wrong for you, the wrong fit, the wrong culture, the wrong kind of people. So yeah, the job might be your dream job, but you may not enjoy it very much because you might be surrounded by people that are just not your kind of people. But yeah, great advice. Next tip is from a good friend of mine, Rima, and she definitely ended up scoring her dream job. She works in the travel industry, and that's what she wanted to do for a very long time. I've known her for a long time, and travel was her passion. And that's the first tip that she gives. Be passionate and have a real interest for the industry, because if you have an interest, a passion, that will come through in your interview and when you're applying. She talks about social. Make sure your LinkedIn is up to date. We've talked about that with a profile picture, qualifications, experience, and obviously your CV. With a CV, make sure that it's not too long, not too short, because when I'm recruiting people, and I'm sure other recruiters will agree, if it's really long and it's kind of a little bit off-putting, and you just don't, when you're interviewing or recruiting, you're looking at a lot of CVs, so you need to make your CV memorable by making it just concise, not too long, not too short. Include all the key information, and make sure you tailor it for the job that you're going for. So don't lie, but make sure that if the role and the job description is kind of looking for certain things, make sure you use those buzzwords within your CV if you've done them, if you have them in your kind of repertoire and your work experience. Don't ramble on, but also don't just keep it too short, because then people aren't going to be able to understand, if you're the right person for the role. The next thing she talks about is CV and like perfecting your CV, like we just talked about. And if you've made it to the interview stage, make sure you research the company. We've talked about that a lot, about researching the company. I think recruiters always look for that. Companies always look for that. And ask questions, definitely. If people don't ask questions, it just shows they're not really bothered. And this is a really good top tip. I didn't think of this one, so this is actually really interesting. When I was applying like crazy for a new job, I was losing track of where I'd applied and what stage I was at. So I created a doc. In the rows, I listed out the name of the company, and in the columns, date of application, CV sent, cover letter sent, telephone stage, yes, no, face-to-face, etc., to keep on top of it. So if you get a call out of the blue from one of the brands, the companies, then you can just pull up your Google Doc and know exactly where you're at, because you don't want to say the wrong thing on the phone. It could lose you your opportunity to get the job. Great advice, Rima. I really like that one. So that's really something that I haven't myself applied for a job in quite a few years, so I guess I wouldn't have thought about that, but that is a very good tip. So the next tip actually comes from a friend and colleague of mine, Alex, who works in sales. And his top tip would be, think about what you'd value most from a job and how it might fit your personality. Very good point. Does it fit with how you are? For example, if you have an outgoing, vivacious personality, would you be happy sitting at a desk every day? That's a good question. So you'd probably want to choose a job with a variety and where every day is different. Or do you feel more satisfied helping someone? In which case, a public service role might suit you better. Remember, this is something you'll be doing for most of your life, so choose a job you'll enjoy. And that is a theme running through everything. You've got to enjoy it to make it your dream job. That is great advice. Definitely think about your personality and the fit with the role. The next tip comes from a mummy friend of mine, Misha, who I made friends with after I had baby Lola, and she has a little baby son too, and she's become a very good friend. And her advice would be, identify your skill sets, be realistic. Your dream job might be a doctor, but you might not be very good at science. So to be honest, be realistic with your goals. It's nice to have big dreams, but try and make them achievable. And I totally agree with that. If you set your goals crazy somewhere else where they're just not achievable, then that's probably, you're always going to feel like you've let yourself down. So be realistic in your goals. She also adds, just don't be too hard on yourself. If you don't get your dream job straight away, sometimes being where you want to be takes years and years of learning experience. Just remind yourself what your end goal is and don't give up hope. Said perfectly. The next one is from my friend Rebecca. She's actually a designer. She's a very talented designer. She's done work for myself and for Ash as well. So her advice would be, challenge yourself and question others. Nothing comes from nothing, but with hard work and curiosity can only empower your mindset and knowledge, for sure. So this tip might be helpful to designers or anyone creative. Practice makes perfect. So make, and build up your design resources. So practice. That's how you'll get better. So in your free time, use that to practice and make sure that you're creating a portfolio of works, things that you can show possible interviewers, but also you're improving at the same time. So the next piece of advice comes from my friend Amelia, who Ash and I joined her and her boyfriend Brett for drinks and coffee, and she was actually at one point a travel writer, which I thought was fascinating. She got to travel all around the world, and she has a very interesting job as well currently. Her advice would be research the companies and industry as a whole, write down why you want to specifically join the company. She also adds, read the job description thoroughly, don't just scan it. So when you apply for the job or when you're at interview, you know it inside out, and therefore can be confident when answering the questions. Preparation gives the impression of self-assurance and competence. Good point. Take a print out of your CV and job description with you to make sure you ask questions. Really good practical advice. Also, she finishes off with, stay on top of your industry, keep up to date with useful software to help you progress your skills and knowledge, stay in tune with market trends, requirements, don't get complacent. Brilliant advice. Do never get complacent. Always be on top of what's going on in your space. That will keep you one step ahead. So the next tip is from my childhood friend Sarika, who is a very successful recruiter within education. She's been doing that for many, many years. So she definitely knows about scoring your perfect job and interviews and things. One of the top tips that she gives is, when you've had an unsuccessful interview, rather than just leaving the room, make sure you ask for feedback so you understand what you need to improve on and what experience or training courses you might need to gain to score that job in the future. Great advice. Don't just walk out of the room. Make sure when you've had a follow-up email or phone call to say you've not been successful, make sure you ask at that stage why you did not get the job, because there might just be a case of they were looking for a certain piece of experience or a certain course that you might just go on, and then in the future you could get the job. So that's great advice. And another thing she adds is, tailor your approach accordingly. Make sure you sell yourself and demonstrate how you would add value to them and also why you would benefit working for them. Great advice. You definitely need to sell yourself in any interview when you go in there. You are selling your skills, your knowledge, your experience. How are you going to help that company? How are you going to be the best candidate for the job? The next top tip is from my friend Michelle, and what she says is, after a few negative experiences early on in her work life, she just made a decision. She's never going to stay somewhere in a job if she's unhappy. At that time, she realized, what did she want to make her happy? What was the things that she enjoyed the most in a work environment? And she kind of manifested that into her dream job and environment and culture and people, and then she landed her dream job of all the things that she was looking for. The next tip comes from my friend Hannah, and she's finding the right balance between preparing for an interview and just winging it, so you can be authentic and convey your personality. Part of the interview is having the right experience and skills, but a huge part of it is being a good culture fit and getting along with who you will work with every day. Definitely. When you are in interview stage, they're not just looking at your skills and experience necessarily, they are looking at you as a person, your personality, and are you going to fit in with the team that you might be with the wider team, the office, the company. So they're looking at so many things that you're doing, your body language, the way you're dressed, your appearance. Is it appropriate for the job that you're going for? So think about all of those things. She also mentions, if you need to start at the bottom, then start at the bottom. If it means that you'll be in the company you want to be at, but you can actually eventually move yourself up, then start wherever, just to get a foot in. Sometimes it can, help you get to where you want to be. So you might not be happy at that point, but being in a company, showing the right attitude in that role can help you to get to where you want to be. I just wanted to add a couple more things from my own experience that, my friends didn't cover. They covered so many things, but there's just a couple I want to address. Is when you are looking for a job, target brands that you're interested in. It ties in with what we talked about, being passionate. Target directly. Brands always want to recruit directly if they can. They don't have to pay fees to middlemen like recruitment agencies and things like that. So target those companies, because if you already know that you love their product, you love their ethos, their culture, their mission, their goals, looking at their website, if you can see that you're a good fit for them, target them directly, and that way you end up working for a company that you will absolutely love and be passionate about. Realistic. Do, with your experience and qualifications, do target roles that are realistic. I think we've touched upon this before, but if you're going to be applying, I'm not going to apply to be a doctor because I don't have those skills or qualifications, but if I really was passionate and that was my dream job, then I need to get myself back into education and get those skills and those qualifications to become a doctor. talked about this before, make sure you do work experience, extracurricular stuff, study, training courses, anything that will help you and look good on your resume to, you know, add more strings to your bow when you go for that interview. Also networking, research industry events in the space that you want to work in or the kind of job. There's always free events going on at conferences and exhibitions. Attend them, and even if you have to pay for a ticket, it might be worth it, because if you network at those events, you might end up meeting the perfect person that can help you get the job that you're looking for. Also use LinkedIn. As we all know, LinkedIn is amazing. That's what it's kind of, that's how it started out, as a tool for looking for jobs and understanding industries and understanding companies and structures and organizations. Use it, add people on there, research people that you might be having an interview with, just get to know how LinkedIn works inside out, and make sure your LinkedIn is updated. You're emailing recruiters, make sure you tailor and personalize your email. Don't just write a generic email, add something about the company, add something about the person you're emailing, and obviously don't make it too personal, but make sure that it is personalized and it's not just a template that's going out to hundreds and hundreds of recruiters, because people can see through that and it's not always you know, as authentic, and then it will just get deleted, or you know, you'll get a no. So just tailor your emails a little bit, and obviously, like I mentioned, tailor your resume according to the jobs that you're applying for. And that's it, guys. I think it might be a two-parter because I've been filming for ages, but I really hope you found this useful. I love getting all my friends involved, and I hope these top tips will be useful for you. If we've missed anything out and you think that, you know, you would like to share a tip that we've missed out, then definitely comment it below and share it with the community. So, you know, if someone is looking for their dream job, they can get all the tips and hopefully score their dream job. Otherwise, if you would like me to make this into a series, give me a like or let me know in the comments. And also, what kind of, you know, what should I ask my friends next? Is it about weight loss, about holidays? Is it to do with something fun or educational? Whatever it might be, definitely let me know below, and maybe I can make this into a series and text all my friends and find out what their responses would be. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks as always for watching and all your love and comment on Instagram and YouTube. I really appreciate it. I read everything and I try and reply to as many of you as possible. Take care of yourselves. Mwah! Lots of love. Bye.